Testing, testing. Okay. I hope you can see this. Okay, so I found out something. I did a talk recently. It's this one where I tried to show off hooks and time slicing and scheduler, but I actually ran into a bug, which I only after talking with Dan a little bit afterward realized where the bug was coming from, and it wasn't very obvious to me back then, and so it probably won't be obvious to some people. And so I'm just doing this quick live share just to show what I learned, and hopefully that will be helpful. Obviously, with the caveats that all of this is completely undocumented and not production ready, and if you have any issues with it, don't go crying to the React team about it because they're not ready for you to use it yet. So this is just for enthusiasts, as always. Okay, with that out of the way, so this is the app that I made for my talk, right? And it basically is a standing app. Let's like just arrange my window a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you can see what the window is. Okay, so and it's a really simple thing. I have an API set up. It's pinging my API. It's pulling in any one of three characters based on an index. So this is index zero. So it's the index 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, and 2. And this uses React Suspense. Oh, geez, I should comment this out. Comment this back in. And essentially, what I was trying to show off was React Suspense as the sort of max duration feature. I seem to have worked my app. Oh no, it works. It's just that my buttons are not very accessible. Okay, so and just to walk you through the features, it's very simple. I'm pulling down a number from context, and oh, this is a hybrid app, right? So kind of similar to Andrew's demo at ReactConf, it has a synchronous version and a concurrent version running in the same app. And the way that we're doing it is down here in index.js. We have blah blah blah. We have the setter for synchronous and concurrent, right? You can show whatever both of them, and then we based on that state at the top level. So this is a top level. This is the top level app for the overall thing. Based on the state, we show or hide the synchronous mode or concurrent mode. The concurrent mode app, we wrap in the concurrent mode tag that is necessary for Suspense. And that's about it. So we essentially have the same app in both of them, and then one's coded in regular classes and stuff, and then the other one's coded in hooks and suspense and time slicing and all the new stuff. But the key thing that's going on here, right, is in order to coordinate these two things, I'm creating that context within the top level app, which is a synchronous app, right? And the context is flowing down from that state, right? It goes into context over here, and it flows down into both my synchronous app and the concurrent app. And that's where we start to get issues. So what I was trying to show, and where the bug came across yesterday, was that the app that I made, I was trying to show the feature of React Suspense where it doesn't fall back immediately to the timer, to the loading spinner. In this case, I call it the timer component where all these numbers are running up. It doesn't immediately fall back. It it waits for the expiration, the max duration, which if I don't set it is 5 seconds. And if I do set it, so let's say max duration equals 1,000 milliseconds. And here I have all my APIs resolving in 100 milliseconds, right? So I know that these things are resolving quickly, but I'm still seeing that wait. Like I should not see any spinner at all, right? And I should just see this pause for a tiny 100 milliseconds and then continue because it's still under my max duration. So that's what I was trying to show, and I couldn't get it to work because there's nothing else to manipulate over here. This is a standard React Suspense app, um, and so either this Suspense in the version of React that I'm using, doesn't have max duration enabled, which is what I was thinking, and I was like trying to do all sorts of nesting and stuff that all of that did not work. Okay, just save you a bunch of time. Or my mental model of React Suspense was wrong. It turns out it was a kind of a mix of both, and it really comes down to uh, the concept of how how priorities work, and how the synchronous React priorities kind of override the concurrent React priorities. Right? I have a synchronous app down all the way at the top, right? It's providing the context, and then when that context is being set, that index number is going into my app. I'm reading it and then I'm using it, right? But this usage is we don't know the priority, so it seems like it's a high priority. I don't know if it's the highest, but it's pretty high, um, and that means that it resolves immediately, and this duration max duration doesn't even respond. I mean, that I think that makes sense for like, in terms of like sort of backwards compatibility, but you may run into this when you do hybrid apps like I have over here, and also just like it's a good example for interaction. So essentially, like just to restate, make sure I really get the problem across. I have a max duration of 1,000 here, right? If I remove it, it doesn't go to zero. I used to think it went to zero. If I remove it, it actually goes to 5,000, which is the sort of inbuilt automatic max duration for suspense for user actions. Okay, so I should not be seeing this. I should not be seeing this loading thing, right? That's bad. That's not what suspense is supposed to do. It should not show me the fallback if I'm under my max duration period. So what really is the problem here is I haven't been able to set the priority of my uh, of my interesting of my context setting, right? And I tried it. I I went up into my context thing, and I imported schedule callback and called it defer. It's probably going to be renamed as defer for whatever reason. I mean, it's a shorter name. Then I wrapped my set state in a defer, and I thought that would do it, right? Like I'm trying to defer something in synchronous React, passing it down into context provider, and then and then reading it, and this value update should be deferred. But that wasn't even it. So this actually has no effect whatsoever. So that was surprising to me. And this is all research I just did like a few minutes ago. Um, so bottom line, don't bother using scheduler inside the synchronous React app. Instead, use it here, and then wrap. So any context coming from outside is useless, right? So I'm just going to comment that out and make my own context. I think I have this copied somewhere. So that is so I'm going to make my own number bumper. Yeah. Okay. So and then I'm going to call this my handler function. Right. And then let's call this handler. Now we have another little index thing over here, and this thing is the thing that controls the loading. But we still haven't, we're still seeing that loading flash. We should not be seeing that loading flash, right? So that's a concern. I also don't like this. Yeah, well, it's fine. Okay, so that's we've sort of reduced that problem a little bit, and now we have this app where the state in which I set it is inside concurrent mode instead of outside concurrent mode. So now here, adding defer is going to help. That's the new thing that I kind of learned today. And so now when I bump this up, oh, it's got the event pooling thing going on over here. So gotta make sure to do that. But now when I bump it up, you see that pause, and then you see there's no flash of the loading sign, right? Because everything resolves in 100 milliseconds. Um, and so that's how to interact Suspense with scheduler, right? The scheduler module. Um, and obviously, this is super early stages, and they're going to document all this, but this is just me playing around with it. Um, and what are the other things I wanted to talk about? So if you already seen my talk in the video I started with uh, over in the talk over here. If you already seen that, then you saw the sort of flush sync API. But here I'm just focused on, all right, this is a deferred update, and the interaction between the API response and max duration. So if I left max duration off, it's 5,000 for user events. I can reduce it, and that's all I can do. I cannot bump it above 5,000. So if I reduce it to 1,000, nothing's going to change in this UI over here because I'm going to bump numbers up and down. It's still going to load data from my backend, but I'm not going to feel it, right? Because there's no loading spinner. But if I make my API respond much slower, so let's say I make the middle one respond in 2,000 milliseconds, then it's going to show that spinner, right? Because this thing's going to take a while to respond, and these two won't show up until this thing resolves. So I'm going to bump it up by 1. It's going to show the spinner, and then it's going to be done. I'm going to try again. Bump it up by 1, show the spinner, done, right? So that's what's going on over here. And if I reduce it all the way down to 1001, mathematically, this won't respond before this expires. So we're still going to see that spinner coming out. Oh, it's all loaded, I think. Let me try again. I don't know what that is. Let's try again. Oh, I may have crashed my... What just happened? Ugh, I don't know. Beta software. Let's see. Okay, this is loaded. Reload, just for good measure. Going up by 1. Crashes. Oh, what's going on? It says unexpected token E. So my backend is erroring for some reason. Invalid first argument must be of type string or buffer. Something's going wrong with my backend. I'm not really sure what that is. This worked before, just before I started streaming. No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that is all about. Let's see if I move it back to 100. Does that change anything? Cool. And if I move it up, it should respond fine. And then if I move it to 1,001, you're telling me something happens there? No, not at all. Okay, so yeah, so here we go. So because the delay is still higher than the max duration, we should still see some loading state. As you can see over here, that flash, right? And then it comes to, ooh, sometimes it doesn't. It's weird, right? It's really hard for us to see a 1 millisecond flash, so I guess that's understandable. Then it starts to get into doubt. So like, what if the delay and the max duration are exactly equal, or what if the delay is like 999 milliseconds and then max duration is there? I think in practice, basically this is a very fake number, right? This is something I control. I tell my backend how slow it's going to be. We're not going to have control over this in real life, right? The whole point is that React takes care of rendering, right? We're just going to be doing this in real life. And TCP and mobile connections and whatever are going to be good or be bad, and React is going to help us by just being declaratively saying when our fallback should appear, um, setting a good fallback for the group of stuff that is suspending at the time, and if it responds quickly within that duration, max duration, then it won't show the fallback, and if it responds after a max duration, then it will. So that's about it. You can't just like you can't control your backend latency. There's no point trying to control your own duration. That's what I consider. And all this would not be possible if you didn't defer your event setting. So let's take it out again and see what the effect is. It won't be good. Do 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 do. Ah, crash. What happened? Mm, what? I did have an error boundary. What are you talking about? Oh, not that kind of error boundary. Yeah. Yeah. All right. My backend is being acting up for the first time in ever since I've set this up. Anyway, but hopefully that helps. It was something new I learned today. Cheers.